Okay, everyone, look, really appreciate you all coming in today. We've got a fantastic turnout. We've had over 200 people register for today's webinar. It's certainly a topic that resonates with everybody, and the people that have signed up, the registries from all over the place. We're going from Africa through to Ngatea, Invercargill, in Australia, even over to the UK. So it's great to see the reach that this has got. It's certainly a hot topic at the moment around AI, but more so in this complex financial environment where most of us are currently playing it. So I think what we'll do is, while we're waiting for Scott to arrive, we'll get into just some of the rules and regulations for today. Unfortunately, there has to be some. So what we're going to do, if you've got a question, there's a Q&A functionality here. So we're using Zoom. It's a great tool. Please put your Q&A questions into that area. We'll try and get to them. I mean, we've got a few questions that we're going through today, and the feedback from our initial get-together is pretty much if we get past two of them, because there is so much content, we'll be doing well. So I will certainly be making sure we try and get through as many as possible. So put them up there as and when they come through. If we don't get around to seeing them, what we'll do is we will come back to you afterwards directly. Obviously, everybody who's registered today will get a copy of this. Plus, you'll get a copy of the slides, so no need to record it. Recording's already going in place. Everything will be here for your convenience. And toilets and smoking area are out the back. So that's all the admin done. Who's here today? Well, so far, Stefan, you and me. It's like we were travelling to the Middle East and Africa at the end of last year. That's why we've got not much to talk about. We heard it all. Unfortunately, Stefan's heard all my jokes numerous times. So Stefan is the CEO and founder of LOIS Leasing. LOIS Leasing is a IFRS 16 compliance SaaS tool with a little bit of AI. So Stefan's actually got a really good balance around both the practical side of AI, the financial side. He was the former CFO of the Quadrant Group, and he's going to have a bit to say. Now, arriving, he was actually standing over there 5 minutes ago. He just wanted to make an entrance. So I've got Scott McLiver from PwC, Chief AI Officer.
Right.
New role. I see that
new titles.
Yeah, started in January last year. So how did that come about, Scott?
Well, I've been with the firm for 25 years, so kind of part of the furniture, but the last 10 years I've led a lot of our technology, product and emerging tech efforts, and that included AI until, I guess, the last couple of years, and now it's been consumed by AI. So really it was kind of an evolution into that space. We built an AI tool in the finance space about 6 years ago, and no one seemed to care because it wasn't the sexy thing of the day, but now every discussion has become an AI discussion. But it's great to be here.
No, welcome. Glad you can make it. And for those who don't know me, my name is Damon Kennedy. I'm the head of sales here at LOIS, and as it points out in the opening paragraph there, I'm going to be the referee today. I think the key thing for me, like I said before, is making sure we get through some of these questions because there is a ton of content. It's really interesting. Really looking forward to this one, gentlemen. So ring the bell. Okay, let's start off. Where are we at? There's a ton of hype around AI. Scott, this is obviously going to be delivered to you straight away. What is AI delivering today? Where's it delivering value? So what can we actually see? There's lots of stuff going around it, but focusing down, where's it actually delivering? We've got Gartner saying there's 1.5 trillion being spent on it last year. That's increasing by circa 30% this year. It's 2 trillion. These are massive numbers. What value are we getting out of it?
So I suppose, firstly, what I'd like to share is I do think that this is one of those few technologies where the hype will ultimately be justified. I all the thought leaders that suggest this is the biggest transformation we will see in the coming decades, not the next year or two, but the coming decade. I do think this is one of those technologies that will change the world forever. And that's because it's digital intelligence. So at its absolute core, that's the key thing that's changed. We're all trying to grapple with how to embed digital intelligence into our businesses, into society, education, and life. Where it's providing the most value today is really in three key buckets. One is software development life cycles. So anything around building or maintaining software is a massive value pool today. If you build or maintain software, that's a big one. You're getting up to 10x improvement on the productivity of software engineers that are using the most frontier tools. The second one would be customer service and call centers. And those two areas are a little bit in the bucket of you either do them or you don't in your business, right? You either have a call center or you don't, and you either build and maintain software or you don't. The last one is the big one, really, that applies to all businesses, and that's what we're calling productivity. And that's basically supercharging and accelerating every human knowledge worker to be faster, more efficient, and better. It often, in that agentic productivity space and where the value is being derived, what I see a lot of is it's the compounding effect of the non-sexy small tasks. So the 10-hour tasks turning into 2 hours, the finance month-end going from 15 hours to 5 hours. That's where the most value is being achieved. That's not where most organizations are putting their resources. So that's why you keep reading articles around businesses aren't achieving ROI. And I basically see too much effort going into these, these big bet transformational long shots, and they've still got 100 people manually writing emails and doing reports, right? So productivity, software development lifecycle, building and maintaining software, and call centers and customer service. They are the big convergence of where the hyperscalers are spending money in the frontier labs and the business problems.
From a practical perspective, Stefan, again, from a tooling perspective, and we've seen that, as Scott said, around the development engineering side. What are you seeing from a practical nature in building product?
Yeah, well, I think exactly what Scott said, that different sectors and industries are impacted differently, but actually there'd be a big improvement over time across all efficiencies. But again, the problem we've got is people are investing in big time and effort to get the little efficiencies, and they're not necessarily gaining them. For us with software is heavily impacted. Not so much that it just gets done, but it just really enables those guys to be way more effective and way more efficient. So rather than actually typing out the code after having thought about it, designed it, and then making the code and making sure it's consistent and bug checking it and Q&A, it's really for the developer to actually do that. Right, what do I need to make? Give the instructions, then it can be Q&A, and it can just move through the whole process much, much faster. So it means the time from, I guess, idea to execution really speeds up. And what that means is it's a real enabler. Like, it's still, I'm not sure you get there without it. But what it does is it makes people super more efficient, and especially for developers.
And do you mind if I just jump in something there?
Absolutely.
It's really jumped a threshold in the last 12 weeks, right? This year has been another level of AI coding capability, right? So it's become largely accepted at the cutting edge of software development. Spotify say that they haven't written a line of code in over 4 months. Anthropic is the same. So those big tech companies, so they've still got as many engineers and coders, as Stefan said, guiding the agents, but the concept of a human writing the code is largely agreed to be gone. Now you're the human guiding a team of agents to write the code for them.
Just to pick up on a point you made there, 12 weeks. So we're not talking about what's happened over the last decade or what's happening in the next decade. You're talking about 12 weeks.
Yeah.
What's that? I mean, if you look in the last 12 months, what have been those gigantic steps that you've seen that blows mind? And you go, literally, industries now are changing in the matter of
Totally.
weeks.
And look, for finance, we've seen that in the last 12 weeks as well. And look, when I say 12 weeks, I suppose we're April, so maybe 14 weeks. So this year, right?
Yeah.
There was a point in December, late December, where both Anthropic and OpenAI released 5.2 or Opus 4.5. That was a leap in it. So your question, what's changed? It's just a leap in intelligence where the intelligence solves a whole bunch of problems that weren't solvable before. So in coding, that meant a moderately helpful junior for a coder is now like an intermediate experienced coder. It's like having a junior bookkeeper helping you with bits and pieces that is 80% right, to now it's like a 3-year experienced accountant. And an example that we've got practically, which we're going to show you later on, a bit of a demo, is there's accounting and finance tasks, and some of these around month end, that we couldn't get the models to do in December. They'd have an impressive go at it, but it wasn't really that helpful. Around work papers and month end and accruals and so on. Now in February with the latest models, the intelligence has jumped enough, same instruction, same input, same context, perfect outcome. So intelligence is what moves, and what I think people are struggling to keep up with is, as intelligence in these models moves, it removes the need for some of this extra complexity because the brain's just smart enough.
Yeah, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy about the step changes. And the irony in that time is you've got a period from end of December to probably the end of January where Australia, New Zealand, basically everyone shuts down. And you've had a step change from a junior to a 3-year intermediate.
Totally. And
skilled
to give an example of that, because I think this is an important piece that you're drilling into. Alex Kapathi, head of AI for Tesla, or former head AI for Tesla, one of the thought leader around this space, he was quite public in November and October that, look, AI helps with coding, but all this talk about coding being dead and that. And he listed these areas where AI had weaknesses on the coding front. So it's a helpful. He then in January tweeted, I haven't written a line of code in 3 weeks. This has now changed. So you are truly seeing those kind of step changes.
That's interesting. So we just had someone putting their hand up, which I'm not sure how to do anyway. Okay. Stefan, anything more to add on that before we move on?
No, I think it's a really valid point. It's moving so quickly that you need to be quite sensible with what you do, because if you spend a lot of time on something, then it could be gone and easily achievable with a $20 a month subscription in 6 months' time. So that is the thing that you have to do. And it's more around getting that ecosystem where you can get outputs and benefits and not necessarily aligning to a specific tool.
So what Stefan just said there, I think is, if you remember nothing about this whole webinar, although I'm sure we're going to have some good stuff, that bit of that nugget that Stefan shared there is what I think is the most important thing we share with clients all the time. Don't build, and I have to work really hard for us at PwC to not build and our clients not to build. Don't build things that is going to be $20 a month in 3 months or 6 months. I genuinely feel a lot of the $300,000, $100,000, $500,000 ambitious builds of today will be just eaten up by the intelligence of OpenAI and Claude. Ethan Mollick, who's a bit of an academic in the area, he's really good. Follow him, Ethan Mollick on LinkedIn. He's a Wharton professor. He writes some really good stuff actually because it's practical and pragmatic. He said he believes what a lot of these VC companies that are investing in early stage startups around the AI space, when you're investing in an ambitious startup around AI, you're basically shorting Anthropic and OpenAI. Because if they achieve what they are publicly claiming to achieve, which is AGI and then ASI, so general intelligence and super intelligence, there'll be no need for that niche platform because your main ChatGPT or Claude will simply do it. And I do think that's something that investors are getting wrong at times. They're investing in things that unless Claude or OpenAI like hit a wall and stop, there's no need for that side tool. They're building apps that are going to be free as part of the capability of the core systems.
In saying that, if we're getting back to the sort of the core component of this webinar with regards to, what do we need to know, what do we need to do, etc. At this point in time, do you actually think there's a bit of imbalance with regards to mindset and what's going on. Like
Yeah.
you're saying, there's people that are going out there saying we need to spend all this money, but on the other side it is, these things are moving so fast. You've got to be a lot more structured about it as opposed to missing the boat,
Yeah.
etc. Where does that balance
So,
lie?
look, I think the term no regret move often is called about in tech and business. I think the most missed no regret move today, it was the same as 3 months ago and 6 months ago. It's just more important now. Get frontier quality AI in the hands of your people. And by frontier, I mean not like choose your intelligence layer, your AI, based on the best for your business. Now, that you got Microsoft, Google, but OpenAI and Anthropic are the two frontier labs. So I'd really encourage everyone to get one of those in their hands alongside the other stuff. That's fine. So get a frontier tool in the hands of your people, but then upskill them how to use it. It's not a lunch and learn. It's not an online webinar. Getting a highly capable professional, a knowledge worker to become exceptionally good at using those digital brains is without a doubt the underinvested but most profitable thing. Once you've done that, you get a seismic lift in the productivity of your organization and you start reinventing things. I don't mean rewriting emails. I mean everything you do as a knowledge worker. Once you've done that and you've got, if you're a team of 50, team of 100, team of 500, once you've got your knowledge workers as power users and creating their own human-led agents, your ability to pick the big bets to then invest in goes up exponentially. But it's kind of like, before you try and pick the next All Black team, you probably need to learn about rugby a little bit. And we've got all these people trying to pick All Blacks, and they've never really played rugby or watched rugby. If you get your hands dirty in using the tech for your industry, for your business, the ability for you to pick the areas where you go, actually, I don't think Claude and Anthropic are going to do this. We might put a bit of effort into this knowledge base or that front end. That's far better from throwing darts at a dartboard.
Yeah, well, and that's the biggest thing, isn't there? There's this vegetable soup of options out there. And it's, how do you choose them? It's a cool website. That's easy to do. I've heard about that.
And nothing
on Reddit.
demos better than AI.
Yeah.
So AI is the perfect demo tool. Making it look good is easy. My 13-year-old son could make things look really good. Making them work in an enterprise way to actually help with businesses, that's harder.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're going to dig deep into today is taking that part of it and working it into enterprise businesses like we all work in. Okay, what are the cool stuff? Okay, we talk about all these things. You've given us a couple of videos here. Do you want to talk us through as we get into it? So first one is this one here.
So what these are examples of, just before, that this is a human-led agent we're about to show. So the stages of you bringing knowledge workers, like the foundational process we think is first you need to have your leadership educated on AI. That it's not based on their social media or hot takes or chats at the pub. So leadership, foundational acumen and fluency is really important. Then you need an early days AI strategy. The reason we say early days is you can't set an AI strategy forever, but what are we going to do the next 6 and 12 months as the world evolves? Once you've got that, so strategy and some responsible AI guardrails, we'll talk about that later, then you get into the 3-stage pillars, which is where this will come to. First, you need your people to be power users of the tool. Now, that would be power user of Copilot, ChatGPT Enterprise, or Claude. A power user, so you can use the tool out of the box. The next step is what we're about to show you here, which is human-led agents. So being a power user of the tool, that's step one. But then you need to create human-led agents, and they're not hard. Like that, we run a workshop, not sales pitch, but we run a workshop. There's lots of places you can get help with that. Get your people capable of going beyond prompting ChatGPT. You've got to get them building agents within Claude, ChatGPT, or Copilot to do work that they do. And we call them human-led agents because you're still keeping a human in the loop. This is an example of some of the capability of these human-led agents. So this one here, if you push play on that, Damon. So this one here, this is one that shows financial capability. Now, I used to have a test. You'll see a trial balance there. I used to have a test for the last 4 years I would put a trial balance into every model that came out, and it couldn't produce a set of financial statements. In December, that changed, and now this is what you're seeing here. We've created an agent that knows when we give you a trial balance, we want you to run through a series of QA and steps and processes, and we want you to produce a set of New Zealand financial statements. Now, this is just obviously a demo example. We call it Chat Lab, but what you're seeing here is a human-led agent that's not coded. This is just any one of you watching could create this if you're shown the structure. It's all just English language. And it's spitting out a set of financial statements. And this one's in Excel. We've got a pretty one that goes in PDF as well. It simply was not capable of that 4 months ago. But the intelligence layer has jumped. It's jumped again since then. So that in this example, you know, that's some notes for the financial statements, a P&L and a balance sheet. I was actively encouraging clients to not focus too much on using AI for numbers-based tasks 6 months ago, 8 months ago, because look, that wasn't its strength. It's their large language models. They have jumped so far that this type of output, as you know, as a draft that an experienced professional then checks, is incredibly helpful. So that's one example of a human-led agent, simple set of notes and financial statements. And then we've got another one, which I think probably
next.
Yeah, if we go next, because the next one might be even, I think it's the same one.
We need to get the AI to run it for us.
Yeah, right. Well, this is why this is the manual labor that we talked about before. This one here, the financial.
Still the same one.
Same one.
Oh,
that's cool. I can talk through this one. So this other one that we've got, it takes and compares. This is the PDF one. Okay, this is the PDF. I'll let that play there because it just basically shows the same thing, turning a trial balance into a set of financial statements. Once again, just to see the capability that now is embedded with Claude or OpenAI, ChatGPT sitting in here. Now, I do actually maybe just quickly pause. When I'm referring to ChatGPT or Claude, I'm always referring to the business version. Never use the consumer version for anything you do for business. The data is not safe. The reason it's a consumer tool is it's free because you're giving your data for the tool. The business version, you give $30 or $40 and they legally and architecturally can't use and won't use your data. So I'm always talking the business versions, but the business versions is capable of doing what you're seeing here. We've got one, this one here is just showing a PDF financial statements. Another one, another human-led is a procurement tool. Now it shows you upload procurement contracts and invoices. There's a client that we were helping, they used to spend about 4 days a month checking that the invoices from suppliers match the terms that they agreed. And the model would just check, okay, my job is I'm given 85 invoices. I look at these 12 contracts and I check that we've got the right terms. Now that used to be a 4 day a month process. Now it's 1 day. Now it's still a day because they run the model. It takes 20 minutes, but then the human checks the outputs. Now, none of those get headlines in the newspapers or the websites, but the compounding effect of those is where we are seeing the most value, right? You add 24 day a month things down to half a day or a day. That's where you start building not only the efficiency, but the confidence to do more.
Well, especially for $50 a month.
Totally.
Like you'd buy it at twice the price. Okay, so as you can see, there's some really cool stuff that you can do. And would you say in the hands of an expert or a semi-expert, like how would you define the skill level, which is something we'll get to a little bit later, to put this together with today's tech? Not 12 weeks ago tech, today's tech.
So, and it's a good point because it's certainly a bit easier today and it'll be a little bit easier next week. Why? Because as it gets smarter, it counteracts your poor instructions, frankly.
Yeah.
But it's a really good question. This is my views on it. Now, I don't want this to sound like our pitch, but we believe that knowledge workers need 6 hours of foundational skills, 3 hours to become a power user, and then 3 hours to build these human-led agents, right? So it's so that's where it's not a 45-minute lunch and learn, but it's not an MBA either, right? Like, but we have found that regardless of who you partner with to upskill your people, I'd encourage you, they should all be laptops open in-person sessions. We've found with upskilling, 1,700 people at PwC, 30,000 across Asia Pac, you've got to get your hands dirty. And although hybrid working and those things are fantastic for flexibility, you've got to get that engagement. So I'd encourage you where you can, have those leadership sessions, the CEO there, the exec there, you're all in the session together and you got your hands dirty on the tools. So we think it's a 6-hour process.
Just very, very limited resource investment for, basically the product that you're seeing there. Okay, let's move on a little bit because we could be here all day. Automation versus AI versus agentic AI. Okay, from a finance perspective, what are the distinctions between these and why does it matter? Because if you have a look, I know we've been talking about weeks. If we look at, say, the last decade, and certainly from a SaaS business perspective, etc., you have businesses trying to put as much automation in as possible. Now we're talking about AI. Is it automation? Where does it sit, and where do they sit together, or do they sit together?
I think they do. I mean, look, automation obviously has a meaning in the English language as, automating tasks. We've come, I think, historically for that to be, fixed automation and robotic automation. And one of the challenges with those, let's say you produced an automation process to help you import invoices, or there's countless ones in the finance. If something moved, the invoice number moved from there down to there. If something changed, it would break the automation. So the problem was with automation wasn't the automation was a problem. It was very brittle. You set it up for that process. If one little thing changed, the supplier invoices, they had a new logo and therefore it pushed everything down a line. Sometimes that could break it. Now we've got with AI and these neural networks, these large language models, but at their core, they're all neural networks. They think, so they're not robotic. So they don't care whether the invoice is handwritten, whether every one of them's a different format, because it reads it like a brain. It goes, oh, there's the invoice number, there's the quantity, there's the amount, there's the GST. So AI enables automation to be significantly more robust. You can automate much more complex tasks. So at those two ends of the spectrum, AI or current AI, these LLMs and what we all think of as AI today, is a massive accelerator of what we've always thought of as automation. So that's part of it. Agentic AI is really just, when we use ChatGPT, when we use Claude, when we use these chatbots that we have had introduced to us, they are information being shared back and forth with a brain, a digital brain. We ask a question, it replies. Agentic AI talks about, like in its simplest form, that same brain, because it is 100% the same brain, being given arms and legs and tools and access to things. So imagine, and this is the way that I describe this to my partners and my colleagues, imagine if you had a really smart person in a room that you could ask questions by slipping a note under the door. That was ChatGPT. You'd slip a note, it would give you an answer, right? Agentic AI, step one, we then gave them the internet. They couldn't use the internet, but they could search the internet. That was like the ChatGPT got a bit better. Agentic AI is as we say, hey, you've now got a phone. You've now actually got a computer you can use to create Word documents. Hey, here's a login and password to Salesforce. You can update records. So agentic AI is as you give the existing models and tools the ability to do things for you. That's the big difference. Now, agentic AI is, I think, one of the most overused, not overused term, but it's kind of the buzzword. It's just AI empowered to actually take action. So it's just as we move to the same capability, as opposed to question back and forth and answer, instead of me saying, can you tell me about how to prepare a set of financial statements? Here's an Excel trial balance. Can you create the set of financial statements? And can you submit them to the company's office? Like, not that you do that, but as an example.
Stefan, from your perspective, you've got a SaaS product, which is basically an automation of a process. You know, you're looking to add AI functionality capabilities to it because you need to. Why is it important to have differentiation between both, and what is that differentiation?
Well, I think firstly, and we'll come on to it later, is kind of enterprise level compliance is not a small thing to disregard. And quite often with the AI conversation, it kind of is. That it's all well and good that I can vibe code a golf swing app or the like, but I probably wouldn't want to try and sell that to 1 million people.
Well, your golf swing's probably about
Not my golf swing.
3 to 6 months back. Certainly not agentic level.
But likewise for a kind of a software product, you've kind of got to embed the controls and stuff in place, which is why you have SOC and ISO and all of that kind of thing. But also probably more importantly is most SaaS products in particular will do some form of automation. That's the whole idea of both the scalability and what they're doing. So AI, much like Scott was saying, is kind of the next step of that. But you've got to have those guardrails in place to make sure it's kind of got access to the internet, maybe, but only in certain places. And that control environment, how it's done, is really important. And because it's moving so fast as well, your results can be variable.
And because they're probabilistic.
Exactly. So it will not really give you a definitive answer. It will give you the answer that it thinks is best, which sometimes is okay, but I'm not sure you'd want to be relying on it. What we're seeing is, and in our work that we've been doing with AI to embed it within the system, is that we were looking at it a year ago. It didn't seem very reliable. Seemed like it would create more work. And basically, to what Scott said, it's changed a lot. We did our first proof of concept for lease ingestion in January, actually. And suddenly the numbers were great. I think it was 89%. And leases are messy. They're not like an invoice, where an invoice is a invoice number, like a buyer, seller, amount. Leases can be 100 pages. They can have handwritten notes. They can have weird dates, weird structures, all of that. And so the AI is now suddenly able to actually pick this up, understand, and start to learn. So although there's been AI and lease ingestion, some competitors have had it for 3 or 4 years, it has been very unreliable. But to your point, the last 4 months has gone forward massively. Also, the tools to get it into an enterprise grade availability have also moved forward. So something that would have cost millions and months can now be done in weeks. So what that means is that practically by using experts and people with the knowledge, but then with the tools as well, you really extrapolate those gains much faster to the end customer. So when they talk about the SaaS apocalypse, or however you say it,
it's hard to say.
It's your 6 hours of training will probably not become a true expert in whatever field that they are working in. However, if they use the tools with the guardrails, with the knowledge, and combine that all together, that's where you're going to start to see the gains. And we've seen it. So the proof of concept took 2 weeks, 89% return. We're going into the sprint now for the production environment. We're looking at kind of a month or 2. I mean, trying to do that a year ago, that would be millions and probably months and months of work. And so if you can use the tools and you've got the expertise and the guardrails, that's the thing. The main thing that I guess people have to be cautious of is making sure the tools fit for the enterprise environment that you're working in. Because to your point, like using ChatGPT consumer level is downright risky.
And I think you've raised something really important there, Stefan, is for most businesses, if you're not going to invest a lot of money in building bespoke tools, which I think I'd encourage you to have a very high bar for that. So discourage you from doing that. The 2 ways you'll embed AI into your business is one, using the frontier tools, and you'll all need that. But the other one is like Stefan described, and that's when enterprise providers, like your example, they do the hard work of embedding it in for you. Because both of those are safe. If you vibe code a solution, you have to make it safe. ChatGPT and Claude, the business versions in Copilot, they're safe because they put billions into keeping it safe. The enterprise providers you have, they embed it safely because that's their business. But vibe coded tools are Wild West. So it doesn't mean that they can't be safe, but you have to take the effort to make them, and that's harder and more costly. So those two, for most businesses, get the AI that Stefan's embedding in and get the generalized tools that the Frontier Labs are providing. Those two are the no-brainer way forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think what we see, and I think a lot of people out there, when it all started coming forward, everyone raced to Copilot, right? Because it's Microsoft. Like, it'll be great. We all use Microsoft, and I mean, everyone on this call today uses Excel a lot if they're finance. But Copilot wasn't that good because it wasn't really in their interest to rock the boat too much. But again, coming back to this time frame, it's got better and better, and now Excel and the like with the built-in Copilot or Claude connectors or whatever can do a lot more. So making sure you get that balance right makes a big difference.
Is there also a balance like what we're talking about at the moment, and we're going to get into governance, etc., where everyone's looking for the savings, the efficiencies, but they're not necessarily pricing in or viewing the actual risk. So if you say you've got something vibe coded because you want to do your IFRS 16 calculations, what's the downside risk? So if that gets hacked or it's just completely wrong, what's the cost of that? So we know from a compliance perspective for listed entities, enterprise companies, that could be massive. For the sake of saving, a few bucks.
I think that so it's a good topic. I think that the reality is the awareness. So awareness of enterprise grade and safety is critical. Generally speaking, that's causing businesses to do nothing or do the good stuff. So I actually think, although you're right, there's not that many vibe coded solutions. There's more businesses just sitting back saying we're not going to do anything, right? I think though, but get the enterprise grade tools in your hands and make sure you're aware of the AI enablement in your enterprise platforms. But you've touched on something else that I think now is as good as anything to touch on because it's really important for the audience. It's probably only 10 days old. There's a model release from Anthropic called Mythos. So Mythos is the next level of model, the next stage of model. Anthropic's got Mythos and OpenAI's got Spud. Now, where these names come from, who knows? But
AI.
So those are the models that haven't been released yet. But this is the bit that is going to, I think, probably be one of the biggest stories in business for the next 12 to 18, 24 months, even society. Anthropic realized with Mythos, and for those of you who haven't heard of Mythos, please look it up, have a look at some of the reporting. They realized 10 days ago, wow, this model that we want to release as our next powerful step up is too powerful. It is too good at hacking. We cannot release it. So they found it was finding vulnerabilities in 15-year-old software that's used by banks, used by insurance companies, so they found that this Mythos model was too powerful in the hands of bad actors that they had to say, right, we're going to create this project called Glasswing. That's what they've called it. Google, Apple, Oracle, SAP, you name it. You got to come in the tent. We're going to give you Mythos and 100 million of free use. Use it to try and make your software fit for purpose pre us releasing this. Because if we release this model to the punters, you'll all be hacked. We've proven that. We've found the vulnerabilities in your code. So here's some lead time for you to fix your models. To fix your software. Now that sounds scary, but here's the bit that's kind of even worse. That's gone all the way up to the White House now, because we've just hit a point where these models are not just improving. We go, oh, wow, it's better at financial statements and spreadsheets. It's better at things that have a real implication, right? So cybersecurity. Here's the bit that is why I think this is going to be a pervasive topic. Even though Anthropic have shown real restraint and responsibility and clearly a bit of pumping their IPO price, but, bit of restraint, we're not going to release that. OpenAI will be largely doing the same with their cyber tool they've just announced. It doesn't really matter what Anthropic and OpenAI do in the next 6 months in terms of holding it back, because the open source models are only about 6 months behind. So Anthropic and OpenAI know that there's no stopping the train. The best they can do is help good actors protect the software. Because if we look forward to Christmas time, it is very unlikely that Mythos level capability won't be pretty much free and open source you could run on your device. Now, the scary bit about that is, and I don't want to scaremonger, but it's just important, you're going to have bad actors in the next 12 months with tech so powerful, we currently don't think it's safe for society. And that's why cyber risk, which you've raised, has always been important, but I think the next 12 months is going to be a real spotlight on cyber until these very smart models help us to, I guess, strengthen the quality of the code, and then we'll move forward on the same basis where the new models help us strengthen, and kind of you've got that natural balance. But we do have a challenging next 12 months where the risk of cyber and hardening your systems based on these very advanced tools, because for the first time, Anthropic is sharing, and sorry I'm sharing a lot here, Anthropic is sharing this model Mythos is better than a human at finding bugs. Our best engineers, and not only can that find bugs, they can find 5 little bugs and string them together to make a full vulnerability. We've never had that before. So it's a really well called out point, Damon, but we're going to enter this world of cyber importance, and you're going to see more and more of that in the news.
See, I positioned this webinar as fun. Okay, probably a good start then to get to this piece. Starting point. We just talked about before, there's organisations that have jumped in head first, spending tons of money because they think it's, for want of a better term, an arms race. And then you've got others more conservative. No, pump the brakes. We don't want to do anything because of, if mentioned, cyber security, IT security, etc. So CFOs, CEOs, where should you start? Now that people here are going, okay, what should we be doing? Or, what is our baseline and where do we go from there?
So that is a question, probably the number one question I almost get, right? And typically when I'm talking to boards and execs, the conversation normally goes like, not where should we start, because most of them have started in some form. They're saying, hey, we've been on this journey for a while and we want more ROI. We don't seem to be getting much return. So it's either that or where should we start? And the answer generally, actually is the same to both. You will not get change in your organization of everything I've seen and experienced with our own firm until the leaders buy into it. And I don't mean buy in verbally, I mean with their actions and their tone. All of our employees, all of our teams have more to do than they can fit in their day. That's pretty much how we all work now. So teams become very good at assessing. The CFO says these are the 8 priorities, but these 3 is what I really have to do. The CEO says these are our 6 priorities, but these 2 are really important. Until AI and change around AI, upskilling with AI, and embedding AI becomes one of those top 2, it's really hard to get any change. So that's why leadership buy-in, true leadership buy-in, is critical. And to only get buy-in with the fluency and foundations. Once they've got that, and you can't really skip that step, even though it sounds boring, arm your people in the finance team or your organization, your knowledge workers, with your choice of frontier tech. Now, that's Copilot because you're Microsoft, or Claude, or ChatGPT Enterprise, or Business. That's your choice, like no problem at all. I'd encourage you not to choose your intelligence layer based on your hyperscaler. Like just because Google does your cloud, or Microsoft does your cloud, or AWS does your cloud, make your decision of the intelligence layer as the intelligence layer, right? And they all work together. Once you've chosen that Copilot, get it in the hands of all your knowledge workers and upskill them. And once you've upskilled them, the 6 hours we talked about, then you have to relentlessly change how you do things. And that's the hard bit. The tech is by far the easy bit. And I know that's a cliche, but I truly mean that. The hard bit is Stefan and I not doing it the manual way when we've got a 200 IQ brain sitting here that'll do anything I ask them to do. So the human change is the hard bit, but you can't start the human change until you got leadership buy-in, safe frontier tech in the hands of your knowledge workers, and they're upskilled how to use it.
You talk about the first step being picking your frontier system of choice. Do you need to worry about going, okay, then let's say 6 months ago, 12 months ago, you talked about Copilot because we're a Microsoft house. If you pick Copilot now or Claude now or ChatGPT now, and then something else comes along or the other two of the other three pass you, is there a disadvantage? Do you think you can pivot and go, actually, Claude's just kicking butt at the moment. We need to move on to Claude. A, is that easy? And B, how important is that first decision? Because you've just given three behemoths.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. We get that a lot as well. I think it doesn't matter as much as people think, right? So frankly, and I love an analogy, as you might have sensed. I think it's a little bit like saying, well, I'm going to keep walking to work because I'm not sure who's going to win the Formula One Manufacturers Championship this year, right? So I'm not going to drive a car till I know who creates the best cutting edge engines. And the reality is any car is faster than walking. So most organizations, if you've got Copilot, OpenAI, Claude, one of those frontier labs, you're going to be, you're a seismic shift from not doing anything, right? If you do need to move, they're all language models. So actually moving agents from Copilot to Claude, they're basically just instructions. Ultimately, they're not code. They're instructions you've given the smart brain. So that is a very good, what you described, Damon, I see as not the number one, but one of the biggest excuses for procrastination. Oh, we're just going to sit back because we're not sure who's going to win.
Yeah.
Right. We're not going to use calculators because we're not sure whether Casio or Sony is going to create the best calculators. Right. That said, I think that Microsoft has a big advantage around their embedding within the ecosystem and a challenge around embedding in their ecosystem. So at the moment, Claude and ChatGPT Enterprise have got a blank sheet of paper and are constantly releasing new capability. I think if you want an executive team or a finance team to experience the future of AI, like kind of almost instantly in touch and feel it, that's GPT Enterprise or Claude. Notwithstanding, Microsoft, I think, is going to be here forever and very powerful and more powerful in time. Those two just feel a little bit more.
Yeah, practically what we did was we started with Copilot. It was the easy one off the rank, especially on the security, because it's all embedded with everything else you do with SharePoint, Excel, Word, and the like, and obviously talks back to whatever LLM you want. But probably the thing that's been interesting is the models have changed, as Anthropic has really come up fast and hard. And I saw some stats. They've got 75% of enterprise LLMs at the moment, so they've really gone hard, and Copilot's by far the worst. But reasonably recently, they've actually embedded Claude into Copilot as well, so they have this weird ecosystem where they're starting to use each other anyway. And now in Claude, you can get a connector into Microsoft as well. So back to the earlier point, it's about getting started, having those guardrails. You can pivot and change. You'll probably lose something, but it's a lot better than being right at the back of the field trying to run to catch up.
Yeah, if you lose 10 meters crossing over, you're already 5Ks ahead anyway.
Yeah. It's like saying, there's got to be the worst doctor in a class of doctors.
Just on that, there's a really, Stefan's point there around Claude's within Copilot and so on, which is spot on. What's really misunderstood, but it's starting to be appreciated in the market. Think of Formula One. For any of you that are Formula One fans, think of these, the AI tools like a Formula One car. It consists of the engine, which is the LLM or the brain, and the car. What we're learning more and more is it's not just the engine. Mercedes might make the engine for the Mercedes team, for, I don't know, the Red Bull team, well, that's Honda, I think. But, what we're learning is that whilst Copilot has, not only Copilot, but other tools have the Claude engine and the OpenAI engine, they don't have the car. Now, what we like, for those of you who heard about OpenClaw, which is an always-on agent that is an open source agent, which has kind of taken the world by storm, that was a real example to the world of the same engine can go around the track 5 times faster if you put a better chassis and a better suspension, better tires. So why it might feel different using Claude or ChatGPT Enterprise versus Copilot at times, and obviously it's vice versa, is because you get the engine, but when you're in Claude, you get the engine and the car. When you're in ChatGPT Business, you get the engine and the car. In time, Microsoft may make a better car, but at the moment, it's a mix of the engine and the car. So that's why, if some of you don't understand, because we get asked, why does Copilot, when I'm set it to Claude, give me a different quality of answer to when I'm in Claude? It's the engine and the car.
No, again, another good analogy. Really important point. We've been sort of working up into this being the governance, control, and responsibility. You know, that AI, you've got to have those parameters, the guardrails, and words that we've talked about quite a bit. So, why is it important?
Well, I think it's relatively obvious. Obviously, the mythos thing and the bad actor thing. Cybersecurity is always a huge threat at any time, and that's why with any kind of software that any business is using, having the certifications and the enterprise level security, ISO 27001, SOC reporting, all of that, that is the baseline now, and it's only going to get worse of the bad actors. I think, can't remember the number, but there's a new ISO coming out for AI at the moment. So we're working on that. And again, that just gives you that base level of making sure what you're using is safe. Because at the start, obviously, everyone was on kind of ChatGPT because it was so amazing and you could do anything, and they were just harvesting your data. Exactly the same as what Google was doing 10 years ago, what Facebook were doing 10 years ago. That's why it's free, because they're getting something of value. And I think that position is possibly not well understood. And in fact, I was reading a bit of a takeaway on that something like 70% of organizations have AI policies, but 37% have problems with their governance, because Mary and accounts has decided I'll just quickly put that TB into ChatGPT and get it to format it for me. Pretty easy to do, right? And that's why this stuff is so important. Because even before the rise of AI, there's been some real high-profile hacks, especially in Australia, Medcare and the like, the banks, and that is in probably a much less threatening environment than we are now. So that kind of enterprise level regulations, governance, responsible use is really, really important. That's not to freak everyone out. And I think in New Zealand, because we're kind of quite conservative, a lot of companies are going, oh, this is too risky, I can't do anything. But obviously, if you've got the right, package and providers that can prove that they're doing that, then you leverage them to get forward, rather than kind of vibe code on Lovable, a new tool that's going to do your monthly and close for you. Probably not a smart idea.
Yeah, and that's where, I agree. I think just to kind of level set, why is there so much paranoia around AI and safety and control and so on? I think no different to cloud. When cloud was first a thing, you didn't have all this choice of enterprise grade, bank level cloud, right? And then we went through a journey in the last 20 years, right? Same things happened with AI, but the first 2 years of AI and post ChatGPT, so the post ChatGPT moment, if you wanted enterprise grade AI for that first 2 years, you kind of had to create it. Grab the models, bring them inside your firewall, put a lot of effort to build around. And we did that. You couldn't pay $35 a month for enterprise grade Copilot, enterprise grade ChatGPT or Claude. That meant that we had this appropriate fear of don't use AI because it's not safe, which was appropriate. It should have been don't use consumer AI, but don't use AI. So the bit that I'd really encourage you all to do, if you do not give your people safe AI, they will use unsafe. If you haven't given them Copilot or ChatGPT Business or Claude Business or Google Gemini, if you haven't chosen an enterprise grade safe AI, they are not going to sit there and use ChatGPT 5 hours a night at home and come to work and not do it. So by not giving them safe AI, you're just guaranteeing some of your data is being exposed to unsafe. But once you give them safe AI, choose your enterprise grade tool, then you ban the others. And you have training and business rules, and you ban the others. We encourage people that if, like, take ChatGPT Enterprise or business, if you can claim your domain, which basically means you cannot use. So Stefan, if he's at PwC, he can't set up a personal consumer account with a PwC email address because it defaults him into the enterprise version. So you just need to think about your own ways of getting safe AI in their hands. Once you've done that, that's, I think, half the battle for this question. This next one is how you're going to govern. It. Now, the pragmatic things I think every organization needs, you need a leader and a leadership group. And if it's a mid-sized business, it might be the CFO with one person helping, or it might be a small, subcommittee in a larger corporate. You need a group that spends time every month or two sitting, thinking about how AI is being used in your business and what proposals do we have from the team to use it in a way we never have, to think, are we happy with that? Now, human in the loop AI is easy because the human must remain accountable. And that's a really key point. Like, we work really hard. Don't tell me, Damon, that AI made the mistake. It didn't. You didn't check what AI helped you with, right? So that's an accountability we work very hard on. But where that committee or the AI governance group needs to think through is where Stefan says, hey, look, Scott, we were thinking we can get back to customers quicker about when they ask when their lease expires. We actually think we can do an automated reply to that. No human in the loop. Now, there's lots of examples where you go, actually, okay, and you think it through. What are the mitigants? How have we got the guardrails around the model? There's lots of non-human in the loop that you might conclude, yeah, that's actually fine. But you've got to put them through a structure. Otherwise, you will inadvertently do things that you think, oh, why are we using AI for that? So we think human in the loop, it's all about the human training. Anything that's not human in the loop must go through a governance and control panel. And then lastly, when you're thinking through your business rules and your training, be careful that you don't apply a higher onus to AI than you do to other tools. And what I mean by that is like something really simple. You can very quickly say, well, who's to stop staff using, or our teams to use AI to search up how to make bombs, how to do this, how to do that? The answer is the same thing stopping them using Google for that. Your professionalism, your culture, your code of conduct, your training, right? So don't fall into the trap of applying a completely new set of procedures. Like, what are we doing to stop Stefan sending a silly email to a client? He can just push send. I mean, like, all of our people do that. But how we do it? With training and code of conduct and professionalism. And so I do see that first set up the governance and control, but once you do that, don't let it stifle you by thinking AI is the human in the loop. Accountability is critical. I would work on the culture. We've got a motto within PwC, your work, your responsibility, right? Now, at the moment, we're a professional services firm, so that's kind of embedded within us. But our focus is, this is a turbocharge for what you deliver, Damon. It's not a replacement. You no more should blame AI than you should blame that you got your nephew to help you with some client work. Both of those are unacceptable.
I like it. Now, look, we are fast running out of time, which I knew we would, so it means I haven't done my job around this. Probably the one area we'll quickly touch on, but I'm sure everyone is keen to go on, but we said now, what skills are you going to need? Now, I'll put 3 to 5 years, and that's because I put the slide together last night. So much has changed in that 12 hours. We're now talking 3 to 5 months, 3 to 5 weeks. What are the skills?
So I think all the skills that we desire in our high-performing people yesterday, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, still apply, right? Relationships, trust, critical thinking, judgment, nuance, all those things that the high performers will always hit, what we desire from high-performing professionals, they still apply. The bit I think that's turbocharged is they are more valuable because they're deeply human and just deep technical expertise isn't going to be as valuable. Be valuable, but not as valuable, right? Critical thinking, like, so my kids are 13 and 15, and when, you know, challenging age for them, because, you know, when they look 5-7 years, the world's going to be quite different. But I would encourage us on the call and my kids be very, very comfortable using and getting the best out of AI. So it's a tool that accelerates what you output, but you're also very, very good at critiquing AI, at challenging it. You either use it, and I think that some humans will take AI and turbocharge their output, their productivity, their creativity, their entrepreneurism, and frankly, the problems they solve. But some humans will let it replace what they do. And I kind of have a view which, you know, I think if you would have talked to someone pre the Industrial Revolution about we're going to have all these things set up around cities in the world called gyms, and people are going to go there and they're going to do this artificial manual labor to try and exert themselves, would have been laughed out of the building. They go, mate, there's about 40 acres of fields to plow, right? I think we're probably going to find in the coming decade the equivalent with cognitive capability. Some people, like, despite the Industrial Revolution, we've had a mix of obesity that's risen, but also, there's no question, athletes and high-performing humans have never been stronger, fitter, faster. And I think we're going to see the same cognitively, that I think some humans are going to use AI to make them sharper, deeper thinkers, more nuanced, you know, all that stuff, that more creative than we ever have. But unfortunately, some humans, just like humans can opt to sit on the couch and, you know, watch Netflix, we're going to have some humans that use AI to basically outsource their cognitive capability. Don't let you or your kids be some of those, because the more you add the top up to the AI capability, your ability to leverage it, the more attractive you'll be to employer, the more powerful you'll be for your existing organization. But I actually think the more you'll enjoy getting the best out of this powerful technology, as opposed to letting it happen to you.
Anything to add to that?
No, I think it's pretty comprehensive. The main thing is that you still have to have that critical thinking and that ability to review, because no matter how good it is, there will be mistakes, just like a human makes mistakes.
That's right.
And the knack will be to get that output and know where it doesn't quite feel right. And although we talk about accounting and kind of black and white and debits and credits, if you actually look at it as you get more senior, it is actually about it doesn't feel quite right, or I need to make a judgment on that. And AI will supercharge your ability to do that and to enhance it, but the decision and the accountability, it's not with the AIs, it's with the individuals.
That's right. No matter how many, every CFO could be given another 1,000 finance analysts. The CFO still has to make the decision, right? And that's, I think, when you think about AI, it's just a neural network, it's just a brain giving you its best opinion. It's just an opinion. It's not a deterministic database model. So, yes, Stefan, I think that's spot on.
Gentlemen, this has been a pleasure, enlightening, a little bit scary, and also fun. But Scott, really, really appreciate you coming along. Everyone, Stefan, obviously the same. It's always a pleasure. Everyone, thanks for joining. As I said, we've had over 200 people join us from all over the world, and I'm sure we'll have more looking at it. Given the content that we've seen today, we haven't been able to get through everything. I know there are questions there. We'll try and answer them, get back to you, but you know, watch the space. We look forward to talking to you directly, personally, while making sure that we have all our topics done by AI before we call you. Thanks very much. We'll talk soon.
Cheers.
Thank you.